Check it. The Absolute Universe have been delivering the goods, and this particular issue is no different. What am I talking about? I'm talking about Absolute Green Lantern number 2. Yo, what are we waiting on? Roll that intro, cuz. Yeah. Yo, what's going on, Geek Corner? This is your boy, Earthsmack, the Mad Scientist, and welcome back to the Orange Phoenix Media Channel and another episode of Comic Book Declassified, where we talk about the most recent issues in comics, as well as past issues, as well as character bios, if you ask for it. Now, I want you guys to stick around to the end of this video because we actually have a new segment now, okay? And it's a segment that we can all relate to, and this may be something that you might want to pick up as well. So, without any further ado, let's jump into some Absolute Green Lantern number 2. So, Absolute Green Lantern number 2 is written by Al Ewing, with art, color, and cover by Janoya Lindsay, with letters by Lucas Gattoni, variant covers Juliet Neca, Tauren Clark, Ryan Benjamin, Jeff Spokes, with assistant editors and Ash Padilla, Andrew Marino as editor, Katie Kubert as group editor, and Chris Conroy as executive editor. Now, the one thing you need to know about the Absolute Universe, especially with Absolute Superman, Absolute Wonder Woman, Absolute Martian Manhunter, Flash, and now Green Lantern, is that this is a more challenging tone. This is a more darker tone, if you can imagine that. This is a different retelling. Now, if you want to look at the Absolute Universe, you might look at it like the Ultimate Universe with Marvel. The same type of deal. So it's basically a different telling. And one of the comics I really want to invest myself into is the Absolute Green Lantern series. Now with Absolute Green Lantern number 1, if you haven't read Absolute Green Lantern number 1, I did a video on it. So if you click on the link in the description below, you can actually check out Absolute Green Lantern number 1 and what you think of it, and see if you want to jump into Absolute Green Lantern number 2. So the way this starts off is way Absolute Green Lantern number 1 ended, with Joe actually approaching Hal. Now, Hal in issue number 1 has the Black Hand, and Hal is trying to control the Black Hand. And the one thing's for certain, if any way, shape, or form, if the Black Hand feels threatened, it's going to retaliate. And as you can see in the diner, it was a massacre in the diner, and obviously people fear what they don't understand. So once a gun got pulled on Hal, it was open season for the Black Hand. And then right now you see Joe basically saying what she got going on, because she is covered in green light, and she says, I have no idea. I mean, you were there, you know everything I do, but it's not good. I'm hearing things, I'm seeing things, and I could feel this pull. Something was leading me here. Turns out it's you. So what's with your hand, Hal? And he goes on to say, the Black Hand. Don't get too close. If it thinks I'm in danger, or if I feel threatened, I can't hold it back. This thing, I can feel it in my head, Joe, like a dark star. And she goes on to say, so that's what happened here. You felt threatened. Now, let's put a pin in that for a second. Like, let's jump forward into Abin Sur, because Abin Sur is this tall, hulking figure, and he doesn't necessarily looks like a good guy, not necessarily a bad guy either, but he's definitely need to be taken seriously. So at this point, Abin Sur says, have understanding, I'll come to you from the Green Lantern. I exist at the green level of light. Be without fear. And that is a slogan that he typically has been using, but now we get introduced officially to Guy Gardner. Now this Guy Gardner looks different from the Guy Gardner that we know, because the Guy Gardner we know is very well and capable of possessing the Green Lantern ring. So Guy Gardner says, Abin Sur, my name is Guy Gardner. I am Sheriff of Evergreen. Now that makes me the authority here, the law. You understand what laws are, right? He says, yeah, I got to understand it, but judgment will now commence. Now, let's keep it a beat. If you see an alien figure and it's hulking over you and he sticks out his hand and his hand is glowing, what is your first reaction? So I don't blame the cops for pulling out a gun. It's like, hey, man, guy might bite it, so we might need to protect him at all costs. But also the stupid thing is, like, do you think regular gunfire is going to stop Abin Sur? But that's either here or there. But guy says, put your hand down. Whatever you're doing, I need you to stop right now. And Abin says, judgment is in progress. Guy Gardner, you are not an entity who currently exists in the spectrum of light. Be without fear. Be entirely without fear. Now, obviously, cooler heads prevailed this time around because Guy Gardner, along with Joe's assistant, because like, listen, your first reaction is to pull a gun out. No, listen to reason. So Guy basically tells his cops, put the gun down. I'm gonna put my gun down. Let's start again. We don't understand, officer. We do not have understanding. So please tell us, what do you want? And from Hal's retelling the story, he says, everybody breathe out. You could feel the tension break. I think somebody started clapping. And then at that moment, Hal Jordan witnesses Guy Gardner get vaporized. Like, he is done. He is gone. So now that led to gunfire. Now, from that standpoint, it left a massacre out in Evergreen. But the three key people that were left alone, unscathed, is Hal, John, and Joe. And from that standpoint, he says Guy Gardner has been judged. Judgment is in progress. Be without fear. And without hesitation, Hal pulls out the Thule. Like, he grabs one of the handguns and points it right at Abin Sur. Like, he just witnessed that regular gunfire is not going to work against Abin Sur, but he did not care because he felt like it was the thing to do. It was the right thing to do. And Abin says judgment is in progress. Hal Jordan. And he was about to judge this man, but we don't know what kind of judgment he was going to pass because John stepped in front of the gun, steps in front of Hal and says, look, finger off the trigger, Hal. Lower your gun. Easy on that, my man. You saw what happened to everyone else, right? You don't want to lose a hand. He's like, it'll kill you, Hal. At the very least, it'll take your hand.
Dummy. Yeah. Yeah. Dummy. Yeah. Yeah. Dummy. Yeah. Yeah.
So from that standpoint, Abin now looks at John and he tells John, be without fear. And Abin Sur takes off, leaving those three alive. Now we go back to the dialogue between Joe and Hal because they actually have a sit-down conversation. So it says, listen, I never got around of giving John the gun because I have it. He's like, you should get out of here, Joe. This thing is hungry or something like hungry, something alien, but it wants the light. And Joe immediately deduced, you talking about the green light? And Hal's like, any spectrum of light. It wants not to absorb it. That's not quite right. He wants to supersede it, overturn it. It wants to win the argument, Joe. It's very old. Hal, you're reading him out. Like, can we lose the gun? Like, bro, your Thule is still out. Hey, man, can you put that away? So Hal was like, listen, it should have been forgotten. It should be weak. An idea nobody believes. But something fed it. Something gave it a chance. Now it's everywhere. A little piece in everything. All the way out there. All the way in here. And I'm fighting it, Joe, as hard as I can. I don't want to listen to it. See, I don't want to. But it keeps telling me I was right. Now, you fast forward over to John because it's more like a back and forth. It's more like a timeline jump. But John goes on and says, whatever's happening here, whatever's alien judgment is being levied upon us, I don't think anyone's coming to save us from it. So if it comes to it, do we want to take Abin Sur out of the equation? Because I think I know what can do it. Now, he shows this ring at the end of this issue. Now, the thing is it the same ring that Joe has on when she's emitting green light? Or is this a totally different ring? Are there two rings at that? And what role will Hal Jordan play? I'm really enjoying Absolute Green Lantern, the series. Now, there is some loose ends out there. I've strategically left out some key parts in this issue because, as always, I want you guys to go out there to your nearest local comic book store and get yourself your personal issue of Absolute Green Lantern #1 and #2, because Absolute Green Lantern #3 is set to release in the first week of June. Now, we reached the part to the end of the video where we talk about my new segment. And this new segment is called the Backlog Box. Now, what is the Backlog Box? Now, I feel like everybody can relate to this. Like in 2025, this year, there's been a whole slew of comic books that's been out there that are really, really good. And sometimes it's hard to keep up. Sometimes you got to put certain comics in the back burner, in the backlog, and you can come out and read later, right? So I feel like everyone can relate to that. So for this episode in my backlog box, it is called The Ultimates. Now, I'm not talking about the current Ultimates, but I come to realize there was an Ultimates series written by Al Ewing, which is the same writer for Absolute Green Lantern. So anytime Al Ewing actually touches a comic or writes a comic, he rarely misses. And what I mean by rarely misses, I'm talking about the Ultimates of 2015. I'm talking about the Ultimates that has Black Panther, the Ultimates that have Blue Marvel, the Ultimates that have America Chavez, the Blue Marvels that has Spectrum. So a primarily Black or Afro-Latina team that had a 12-issue run in 2015. So that is what I'm currently reading right now. Now, if you haven't read the Ultimates for 2015, I highly encourage you guys to go out there and get Marvel Unlimited. Now, if you subscribe to Marvel Unlimited, you can read all the back issues from Marvel only. Now, if you want to read some DC and some independent comics, I highly encourage you guys to go out and check out Global Comics as an app as well, and subscribe to that so you can read some back issues and current issues of independent comics and some DC comics. So Marvel is the only one that's not on Global Comics, but either way it goes, so there's some comics that you want to read that's in your backlog that you really didn't have time to read, go ahead and check that out. But that's my backlog box. Also, on the next episode of Comic Book Declassified, we got another very special comic we're going to cover, and that is something I got on Free Comic Book Day. And that is Speed Racer number 0, man. I cannot wait to jump into that. So I hope you guys enjoy the show. Do not forget to hit that like and subscribe button and that notification bell, because the more likes we get, the more it spreads out to the masses. The more it get like-minded individuals like yourself. It helps us out. It helps the team out. It helps you out. It helps the community out. So help us out by hitting that like button. And if it's your first time visiting, go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time, y'all. Peace.